What's up guys, James here with Fun Fact of the Day. Hope you guys are having a great day, learning lots, and getting stuff done. Today, I'd like to try a little experiment before you click off this video. Is the tallest redwood tree in the world taller or shorter than 1,200 feet? Okay, you got an answer? Now, I want you to try and think of exactly how tall you would guess that the tallest redwood tree in the world is. Okay, come up with a number in your head. Now, hundreds of people were asked this exact same question at the Exploratorium in San Francisco. And then a few hundred more people were asked the same exact question with one difference. They switched the 1,200-foot question with 120 feet. Can you guess what their answers were like? Well, I'll put them on screen right here. But I have a feeling that most of the people who were asked the 1,200 question had a very, very similar answer to you. And that answer is way too high, because the actual highest redwood tree in the world is about 350 feet tall. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that the 1,200 number that you were given heavily affected your answer. And there's a good chance that if I was to give you the is it higher or shorter than 120 feet, your answer would reflect that as well. And that is called the anchoring effect. Now, you may be wondering, what the heck does this have to do with KOHL'S and salary negotiation? Well, let's start with KOHL'S for a minute. Have you ever been to a KOHL'S? If you have, you've probably noticed that everything in the entire store is 10,000% off. That shirt over there, 80% off. Those shorts over there, 90% off. And then on top of that, you also never enter a KOHL'S without a massive stack of 30% off coupons and probably $10 in KOHL'S cash. So what does this have to do with the anchoring effect? Well, if you look at the original MSRP of any item in a KOHL'S, you will notice that it is extremely high. The shorts I'm wearing right now probably had an original MSRP of $129. And I probably got them about 90% off after all the coupons and discounts, to the point where now it's a regular $15 to $20 pair of gym shorts. And because of the anchoring effect, I thought, man, these shorts are a great deal. And this is coming from me, somebody who knows a lot about the anchoring effect, and is now making a video about it. Imagine then, if these same shorts that I paid $20 for were just marked $20. That was it. No discounts, no exuberant MSRP. They'd probably seem like a terrible deal, and I probably wouldn't have bought them. That is the power of the anchoring effect. Now, what does all that have to do with salary negotiation? Well, if you, the savvy business negotiator that I know you are, go into your next interview with a specific salary in mind, you should definitely make sure to mention a higher salary than what you actually want. That sets the anchor. Then everything lower than that, even if it's still way too high, is going to seem much more reasonable to your employers. However, if they mention salary first and they set a nice low bar, it's going to be much, much more difficult to work your way up from there, because they have already imagined you with a lower salary first. And that is how this works. Let's go back to the KOHL'S example real quick. When you saw that those shorts were $129 originally, supposedly, your body processed that by imagining, just for a split second, that the shorts actually were at one point $129. And that is where you lost. And the same thing will happen in every single business negotiation that you are in. Now, I'm sure you're pretty skeptical about just how effective this is. I mean, what if you're an expert? There's no way you're going to get swayed by something like this. Well, that's not necessarily the case when it comes to studying these things. Once upon a time, there were some real estate agents. They were experts in real estate in the area that they lived. Undeniably. It was all the best real estate agents in the area. And they were given a test. Basically, they were shown a pamphlet about a house that's actually on sale in the area. And in that pamphlet, there was a suggested list price. Now, they were told specifically to avoid that. They were told that it didn't actually matter, okay? and to use their years of experience and expertise on the subject to create their own list price for the house if they were to sell it themselves and if they were to buy it. Half of them were given a very high list price, way higher than it actually would be, dramatically, and the other half were given an extremely low list price, obviously way lower than the actual list price would ever be, and their numbers reflected that. The one half who had the higher list price tucked away in the pamphlet and were sure that they didn't pay attention to it at all ended up listing the house way higher than they ever should have normally. And the other half that had the lower list price did the exact same, but way lower than they should ever have listed or bought the house in the first place. And these were experts. Now, before you go, I have an even crazier example of how well this works, and it involves completely random numbers that had nothing to do with anything, seriously affecting an expert opinion on something. So, there were a bunch of judges, right? Whole bunch of them. These are expert judges. They had all had at least 15 years of bench experience. That means they've pretty much spent their entire life being either a lawyer or a judge. They were given a set of dice to roll. These dice were weighted, so they would either roll a 3 or a 9. Then they were read a specific scenario about a woman who stole a whole bunch of things from a store, and they were asked to give a sentence to this woman. And that was it. However, the guys who rolled a 3 gave an average sentence of 5 months, but the judges who rolled a 9 gave an average sentence of just over 8 months, which is a huge difference for a bunch of supposed experts, with the only difference being a random set of die that they had rolled before they answered the question. That was it. They knew that the dice had nothing to do with the outcome, but it affected them heavily anyway. This happened again with a roulette wheel and a whole bunch of college kids. They were given a trick roulette wheel that would only land on a 10 or a 65 out of 100. Those were the only two options, but they didn't know that. So they rolled the roulette wheel and got their 10 or their 65. And then they were asked to estimate how many nations in Africa were actually in the United Nations. Can you guess what happened? The ones who rolled a 10 guessed on average that under 25% of those nations were in the UN, and the ones who rolled a 65 guessed that well over 45% of those nations were in the UN. And this just goes to show how powerful the anchoring effect can actually be. So, next time you go to Kohl's, try to tune out the numbers that you see. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but at least you'll be thinking about it. I hope you learned something new today. If you want to learn more new things every single day, click the playlist of videos right here. It's every video I've ever made, and they are all quite interesting. And like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow.